Hey guys, it's Trevor with Streamers Become Human. I'm back again with Rory,
Hello, everyone.
and today we're gonna talk about the pre and post world of COVID and specifically gaming.
Yeah, this
So,
has a lot of facets actually. Um,
yeah, this is something that
uh,
we felt the need to talk about because like there's a lot happening with it that like I feel not many people have covered.
yeah,
So,
exactly. And we were, we've streamed, we streamed before the pandemic, during, and now we're
and
streaming as
yeah,
things are
yeah,
starting to return to normal. Um, but the first thing that always stands out to me about COVID is how many games that it delayed. Uh, there's a massive list. They did a survey with at the Game Developers Conference and found that uh, some third of developers said that their games had been delayed, whether it was the actual release of the titles or like the game was delayed coming to Switch or whatever. Um,
yeah,
is
like
there a
ports or
particular title that
something.
stands out to you as like one that you remember getting delayed, like early or midway through COVID?
Um, I know one that just happened. That was God of War Ragnarok. Because
Oh yeah, that's right. That
for
is
the
delayed.
longest
Yeah.
time, everyone was like, no one that Santa Monica's updated like the Twitter or like any sort of outlet and saying that like, oh, COVID has affected it. But they
Hmm.
finally came out and just said it. I think it was like last week or something that like
Yeah, yeah,
the newest iteration it was gonna be delayed, and I was like, damn, I was because that was supposed to come out this year, and like it's already
yeah,
what June, and like
yeah,
nothing
yeah.
was said about it. We didn't get a trailer last year. We got like the title screen that said Ragnarok, and that was it.
Yeah, absolutely. The big one for me was, of course, Deathloop, which was supposed to come out last year, actually, and is now coming out September of this year. So like pretty close to a full year delay on that,
Was that
actually.
actually supposed to come out last year?
It was supposed to come out last year, which seems crazy to think about now,
Yeah, dude,
right?
that's
Because
wild.
it still feels like oh, we're waiting till September. It's gonna be a bit of a wait. So like definitely like COVID, because of course all these developers were still working, most of them, but it work from home is not the same. Like it's good. It can be, and some people I think it's probably improved their quality of life, but it does impact what you can do. Um,
Oh, I guess another one that I don't know. I imagine COVID didn't help, but Overwatch 2 was getting delayed anyway. Not that we knew
oh,
when it
that
was coming out, but like
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
I feel
surely
like
that was a
the middle
factor
of
in
a
some way.
pandemic can't help.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And so like that definitely impacted like people's and probably some people's ability to deliver, video content themselves. But I also think one of the things that this was kind of like early in the pandemic. I want to say like March or April of 2020, as like when things were first starting to get locked down and people were first starting to walk or like work from home. I heard a lot of people say that they had friends who were never into video games who were now like wanting to pick up video games, wanting to like give them a try, and so like asking their advice and stuff like that. So I think a lot of titles might have that came out during that time, like maybe things like Animal Crossing, may have actually sold better because of the pandemic. Um, because like it's like a happy game, you can pick it up and play it on a Switch.
Well,
Uh,
not to mention also to going off the Animal Crossing thing is Switches became like a rare commodity because everywhere
yeah,
you were trying to find one, they were just sold out.
didn't you buy one around that time? Actually,
Yeah,
didn't
it
you have
was a
trouble
pain.
finding one?
I
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
I had to join a Discord that sent out alerts whenever they got restocked at sites. So like I just remember getting the ping and I dropped everything I was doing and like went and like pre-ordered it or like not pre-ordered but like added it to my cart and just confirmed the orders. It couldn't like get taken from me where you I imagine where people are trying to get video cards now, they're like add it to their cart and then you get to the final step and it's like, oh sorry, like we don't have any more of those.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah. And actually, I don't know if you know this, but Animal Crossing game is the 16th best-selling game of all time. So like it like definitely like I like I don't know what it would have been otherwise had it just come out ordinarily. Because it is obviously there are Animal Crossing fans and lots of them, but like to
Yeah, I
for it
feel
to be,
like
and it's the second best-selling Switch game.
I
Like
feel
that's
like that's a
crazy.
niche game too. So the fact that that's actually like the 16th most sold is wild.
Yeah, that's more than for reference. That's more than the Call of Duty Modern Warfare, like the newer Modern Warfare that came out in 2019. Which is crazy because
Yeah, because
like
those
you
games
know
sell insanely well.
yeah, they do very very well. Um,
One thing
uh,
I wanted to touch on though was
mhm,
you saying that people wanting to become gamers and like dabble
mhm,
in games. For the people who have been gamers and uh, aren't trying it for the first time because of the pandemic, it
mhm,
actually brings up like this point of content drought just because so many things have been delayed that like us as
mhm.
gamers
Yeah,
have to figure out like what to do
that's
because
a good
there's
point.
not a whole
Yeah,
lot new coming out, so we've either had to like redo older stuff or like find new and innovative ways to play games we've played before or try games that you never thought you'd be playing. Like I'm one of those
definitely.
people who never thought I'd be playing an MMO, and then I started getting into Final Fantasy 14.
Mhm.
And I put a lot of time into that, and I was like, oh, okay, all right. And I was like, I don't think I would have done this if there hadn't been a pandemic and there hadn't been a content drought of like games getting delayed and like
Yeah,
DLC getting
definitely. Yeah.
delayed
Oh
and
yeah.
everything.
No, that's a huge thing I think, and it's because it's funny because if for people who are coming into gaming first during the pandemic, there's like an infinite supply of things, right? When you first start being a gamer, it's just overwhelming how many things there are to play. But
Yeah,
for people who are like kind of the old guard of gaming who've been around for a long time, it's like if there's it's like for them it felt like there was less stuff because of all the delays. So it's like it's two different it's the same event but two completely different perspectives on it.
yeah. Because when you
Because of course when
first
you
get
first start
into
playing
it,
games, you don't have to play the new stuff, you know?
yeah, when you first get into it, you're still trying to figure out what you enjoy and like what your kind of game will be. Like if you'll be like an action RPG guy or like a farming sim person or like an RPG
Yeah.
or MMO person. But
When you've been around as long as we have, I feel like we know ourselves at
yeah,
this point. Like I mean, we still try new things. Like you said, you tried an MMO and stuff like that, and I've certainly tried a couple new things. But I think largely, uh, you know, we know ourselves. So I wonder what it's like now for new gamers coming in. There's just all this stuff. It's like they don't even know what they like. Like I wonder where they
yeah,
start. Apparently, they start with Animal Crossing. I wonder. That'll probably be long felt because this game was so popular that probably the next Animal Crossing game, whenever that comes out, will still be really popular because so many people have played this first one. Well, it's not, of course, the first Animal Crossing game, but it's the first for a lot of them.
it
So I
might be one of those
imagine,
instances where like people who weren't necessarily gamers before hear the
mhm.
next title update and they're or like not the title update but the next title in the progression of the series.
Yeah,
And they're
yeah,
like, "Oh, I remember playing that when what you call it. Maybe I'll actually pick it up. I enjoyed the first one." And like that might be the route they take, where it's not necessarily they're gaming like they're playing Animal Crossing and then like Doom or something, but like
yeah,
they'll
yeah.
continually play the same of a specific game because they enjoyed it the one time.
Definitely, yeah, and I like because I think history is full of examples like that, depending on the platform. Like a lot of people started gaming because of well, I think a huge one for a lot of people was Halo, like Xbox gamers. That wasn't you and me, of course, but I think in the day, like a lot of people started because of Halo. When I was growing up, a lot of people started because of Half-Life and Counter Strike, and I think nowadays, like Animal Crossing is going to be one of those that like people remember as the way they got started in gaming, which before, like you say, Animal Crossing was something we knew people who liked it, but it wasn't like everybody we knew or anything like that.
Yeah, it was
Um,
just like a small. You had to be in that like camp in order to
yeah,
enjoy it.
exactly. Yeah. Whereas I feel like I know a million people who started gaming because of Halo,
Yeah,
right? Um, but of course, with that. people wanting to buy more titles and wanting to get consoles. Like you said earlier about it was hard to get Switches. Now, like during COVID, it's so hard to get hardware of any kind.
Yeah,
Like if
pretty
you
much
want to,
anything.
yeah,
It's
like
really hard to get
PS5.
the PS5s, the what is it, Xbox One S or whatever. What is it called?
No, Xbox Series X.
Oh, okay, I can
I
never
think Xbox
remember
Series
because
X.
the name is so stupid.
I think yeah, people may be able to tell, but neither me nor Trev own an Xbox. The yeah, the terrible names, but like so there's a couple things there. COVID certainly demand is one thing. Like people want these things now. I think probably more than they used to, but well, there's also unfortunately there's COVID makes it hard to make things, and there's actually a big shortage of semiconductors all around the world right now, which makes it hard to make things. And like the biggest thing right now is like scalpers, I feel.
Yep.
Which I feel like people have always known about scalpers and their existence, but scalpers now are starting to be a real problem for
But
getting products.
that was pre like COVID. Now
Exactly.
in COVID,
Yeah, yeah.
it makes more of a problem because so many things are online and like people notice it more because they can't buy this stuff offline all the time. Like
Well,
before, it was like
exactly.
you could go to
Yeah.
the store and buy one, or you could go and like get one online if you wanted. But now it's like more and more places are just online orders.
Yeah, exactly. Because you could stop people in the store. Like you could have a store policy. Like they used to do that with like when like a new iPhone or some shit would come out. They
Yeah,
would be like, okay, you can
limit
only take one per
or
person.
two per family or whatever it be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like now it's online and people, there's stuff where they say, "Oh, you got to fill out this captcha or, click every picture where there's a crosswalk or something." But at the end of the day, there's bots,
Yeah.
and that's just how it's going to be, unfortunately. So it's like a paradox. Like more people than ever want to play games and less people than ever are actually able to do it.
Yeah. It's one of those like it's kind of like that like Greek mythos tale that was like the guy wanted to like drink from the water but he couldn't because like every time he went to go and drink water it would like sink, and then like every time he'd reach for like the fruit at the top it'd like raise up and like he couldn't get
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
much
yeah.
this pandemic in a nutshell. Like for all these people trying to
Yeah,
get into
literally.
it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So I hope that resolves soon. I actually had a friend of mine ask me, advice building a gaming PC. Now, when the pandemic first started, that was still possible. There were a couple of people I helped with either building their PC literally physically or with picking their parts list. Like in March, April 2020, I helped a whole bunch of people with
Those
that.
people
But
got
now,
insanely lucky because they did it
oh
in the
my God,
beginning
yeah.
as opposed to now.
Yeah, now it's like impossible because video cards are super expensive. Like even like a I
Even
don't want
like
to say an
not
entry level
decent
one,
ones,
but
yeah.
not a
Like
great one. Like yeah, like
I can't even imagine what like a 970 would be now. Like because everyone just needs like it doesn't matter if it's like a 1080 or whatever. They just want a video card to get so that they can use it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I see like 1080s now going for like $1,000, $1,200, right?
Which is a
More
scam.
expensive. Yeah, it's more
Put it
expensive
this
than the
way.
retail price of the newest cards.
My
They
2070 I bought like a
mm,
year before COVID. That was like
yeah, yeah,
580 or something.
yeah,
That
exactly.
is the
Yeah.
next gen from the 1080 series.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's a generation ahead, and it was brand new, half the price of what these are now going for, which
Yes.
is just it's such a night. It makes PC gaming not what it used to be, because it used to be when people would come to me to talk about PC gaming, I'd say, well, you are going to spend a little more on your hardware probably, if depending on what you want, but you'll save in the long run. Now it's like you'll spend way more on your hardware, but the thing is, what's the alternative? Get a PS5? Like, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Like,
You're better off getting one of those Balenciaga shirts with the PS5 logo.
they're probably easier to get in stock at least. I just don't know what Trev is talking about. They have these Balenciaga, which is some fashion company or something, and they sell these shirts and they say PS5 on the front, and they're like
They're,
700
they're,
bucks or
they're
something.
more
It's so
expensive than the fucking
stupid.
console.
Then literally, yeah, the console, yeah. Oh God. But yeah, no, you're right. You're right. The COVID's made scalpers a way worse problem. In terms of people who have seen changes from the pandemic, I've seen some things on Twitter about this. I don't have too many stats on this, but I was reading a statistic that said that Twitch and other streaming services, like all of them, have gone up in viewership by like quite a lot lately. And I haven't personally noticed it like in my stream.
Do
It's
you
not like
wait? Do you
I'm
know if
hitting
that
new
includes
numbers.
Facebook gaming as well? Because if so, that's wild.
Yeah, Facebook gaming went from 1 to 2 viewers.
Yeah. That's a
It's a
100%
increase of
increase.
100%. But I imagine it's true for like the YouTube live streaming and stuff like that, and like that generally. And but I've heard some streamers say that viewership has really gone up, really went up at the pandemic, and I think now it's starting to like go not necessarily back to normal,
I
but
think
it's starting to
it's
decrease again.
I forget the word. Plateauing or something where like it just like
Yeah,
evens out.
normalizing a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, and I would say that the gains there'll probably be some gain in the long run from this because like there's probably some people who were there's a lot of people were probably just using Twitch more. There were people who were already on Twitch were just using it more because they had more time.
Yeah.
But I would say there were probably a few people who probably never used Twitch who started, and probably some percentage of those people will stick around. So I imagine it'll be
Yes.
noticeable for Twitch probably in the long run, but probably not for most individual streamers,
Because
you
like
know?
I think it's one of those instances where like a lot of like shows and stuff were being like put on hold. And, like I know the Flash and like all those CW shows got put on hold because of the
Yeah.
pandemic. So like I imagine people who rely on like shows as entertainment or like live action stuff as entertainment, so like sports or stuff. Since a lot of those events weren't happening, they're like, well, we need some form of entertainment, so they like went and just watched someone on Twitch or whatever, and because like Twitch isn't
Yeah.
just gaming anymore. It's like you can do
No,
cooking,
not
you
at
can
all.
do music, you can do like I've gone out and shot my bow, and like that's
Yeah.
something you can do.
You can do just about anything on Twitch now, I
Yeah,
think. Like,
pretty much.
they have a category and stuff for it, about everything. And I think by that same token, I didn't even think about this probably until just now, but as much as there are more people watching Twitch, there are probably more people streaming now. I don't know. I don't have a statistic for that on hand, but I
Honestly,
bet there's more people
probably
streaming.
just because I know like job time was really scarce because I know a lot of
Hmm.
people were getting like either fired or they got cut their hours or something. So like a lot of people who wanted to stream who didn't have time were like, "Hey, I have time now, so we might as well just do this."
Right, yeah.
And of course, people will try it, and some people will like it, some people won't. But it averages out. Like the people who didn't have time and like didn't think they'd be able to do it or like didn't think they'd enjoy it. What if they enjoyed it? So like that's X amount of people that stay streaming constantly, and then like the people who tried
Yeah.
like they realize it's not for them, but hey, they might stick around and like be a viewer or something.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I'm thinking about that more and more now actually. The So I'd say Twitch will. Someday we're gonna have really detailed stats. Like a year after like more people are vaccinated, I would love to see the literal like post-pandemic period
I'd
and the
love to see a
statistics.
graph or something because I feel
Yeah,
like graphs
yeah.
are really
Like
good like visual representation.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. The That would be a really interesting project. And I imagine Twitch has data scientists and stuff. They're probably already like getting that stuff ready, um, and figuring out how to like keep viewers around and stuff like that. And it's probably not just Twitch too. Honestly, like I know we're content creators, but I bet like Twitter's probably noticed an uptake as well in number of users and how often people are checking Twitter and stuff.
Well, I feel like social media sites are always gonna have like a higher amount than like streaming sites. Cause like
Yeah.
I guess Periscope's kind of both, but I don't remember that's still around. I think someone bought them out, but
I
like
barely ever knew what that was.
I don't remember if that's still a thing or not. I don't know if they changed it to
Mm.
like just be Twitter Live or some shit, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I just feel like those sites, all right, like they're comparable in a way because like I know a lot of people use
Mm.
Twitter to promote their like the stream and stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
but may not necessarily be on there all the time. So yeah, I mean, again, I imagine it averages out depending on like who the fuck
Yeah, yeah.
uses it and whatever.
And there's less to do as a Twitter user, like in terms of like the demand. Like as
Yeah,
a like, even though there is lots of things on Twitch, you kind of have to buy into what Twitch is. Like some people will, like I don't maybe necessarily know any, but some people probably just hate Twitch. Like they don't like the chat, they don't like this or that or lots of other stuff. But whereas I feel like Twitter, a lot of people can find somebody that they enjoy following to follow. Although, admittedly, I actually think Twitter is horrible. But
Twitter's
yeah,
just
but I still have it.
Twitter's just arguments of like, hey, I like this
Yeah.
thing, and it's like, well, I don't. Your opinion's wrong, and then like 20 minutes of back and forth between someone, and then like they just mute each other or like block each other or some
Yeah.
shit. Like that's all it is.
Yeah. That's how it goes. Yeah.
If you ever see something you like trending, don't go to that trending segment. I'll
Yeah,
doing you
I
a favor
agree.
right now.
Yeah. No, I agree
You're gonna see
100%.
nothing
Don't
but
mess with it.
despair and stuff you didn't want to see.
It's not worth it. I clicked on an Overwatch tweet sometime, and I don't think I've recovered since. Like it's terrible. Like how like I always say this. Like how in Overwatch, like those randoms you play with who don't know what they're doing, and stuff like that. Well, those people all have Twitter,
Yeah.
and that's those like the exact people that comment on Overwatch tweets.
You never know how strongly people feel about something until you go on Twitter and look up that specific topic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I feel okay. So like, what do you think? Do you think this pandemic was like? I I hesitate to use the word good, but like,
Do I think it's benefited some people?
yeah, it benefited. Yeah, I guess.
I think I think it's probably benefited some people and some things. I think there definitely is a case that like there are some people who were able to find interests that they may otherwise have not have had time to find, or just had never been interested in. So like I'm glad some people were able to turn an incredibly negative thing into something that is somewhat can be positive for them or meaningful for them in some way. I think people are really resilient.
Yeah. Because I think after a while, once people realized that like COVID was here and happening after like shutdowns and stuff, they had to like really come to the realization that like this is happening and like whatever they do, it's like they're gonna have to figure out what else to do, and whether that be gaming or like checking out something that they didn't think they'd check out, or
Yeah,
building
yeah.
a PC on their own or whatever, trying to get parts, even though now it's impossible.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think it's been beneficial for people. Obviously, there are some non-beneficial things like borders being closed and like people not being able to
Yep.
travel or like going somewhere like
Oh,
cons
definitely.
or
Yeah, yeah.
stuff like
Yeah. And I mean, most notably, people getting sick,
yeah.
right? Yeah, no, there's been huge negatives, but hopefully some people were able to find some positivity in the whole thing. And definitely, things like Animal Crossing and stuff like that, those things help people. I think more people realize now what gaming can do as like a distraction, you know?
Which is really good because I remember pre-COVID, I'm pretty sure the images and aspects and like visions of people who didn't game were just like
Mhm.
whatever they saw on the news, which would be I know a couple of times they were like, oh, that one guy shot up I think it was like a esports tournament or something, so everyone just thought
Oh,
like
yeah, I remember now. I
they
remember
just
that.
call it
It was a tournament for
violence
some
or
game,
whatever.
yeah.
Like the bullshit you hear as a gamer all the time. It's like, oh, violent
Yeah,
video
yeah.
games mean you want to like come up and like shoot people and whatever. It's like that's not true. And then like I feel like this was eye opening for a lot of those people because it's like, oh, hey, like I'm watching this and I don't want to like go out and like shoot a bunch of people and like that's what
Yeah,
we've been
exactly.
telling
Yeah.
you, but like nobody listened. And
That's
then
true.
like,
It is good. It has been. It has been good. I feel like it's been good PR for the gaming
yeah, good
hobby, at
publicity
least.
for like gamers and stuff.
Yeah, 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 definitely.
And because like gaming was like a niche thing back in the day. Like back in the day, if you told someone you were a gamer, you were like, oh, and like people would be like, oh, so you're kind of like a nerd and stuff. But now it's like more
Yeah,
accepted
yeah,
and like, oh, you games, like, oh yeah, it's like, what do you play? Like, and if you said Animal Crossing, you'd be like, oh, okay, like, I know what that is because that was a big staple moment in the pandemic. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, and the thing is, like, the thing about gaming, being like a thing for nerds. It wasn't even that long ago.
yeah,
It
that was
was
like when I was in
like,
high school, and that was like 6 years ago. So like,
yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah, and it was even. I would say it was even more niche when I was, especially PC gaming was back in the day. Like PC gaming was like in a dark corner somewhere. You know what
it
I
was
mean? Where
super
people
rare,
like,
yeah. Because like I
yeah,
remember when I was in school, it was just like you either played on Xbox or you played on PlayStation, and then like you had
yeah,
that like one like weird guy who like knew the games but like didn't know the games, and they're like, oh, why don't you play? I was like, well, I play on my computer. It's like, oh,
yeah, yeah,
and that's where
me.
the conversation ended.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, because I remember that even from when I was a kid, and I had a PlayStation 1, so I was able to converse a little bit as well. But like, if I ever said anything about Counter Strike or something, people would be like, "Wait, what?
They're
What?"
like, what? Like, what
Yeah,
the fuck are you talking about? Like,
yeah, yeah. That's one thing that never crossed over.
but yeah, that's our I guess discussion
Analysis.
over overview of what we've been like a year and a half in.
Yeah, year and a half about into COVID. Yeah, um, into at least when things started closing down and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, so it's definitely, I think it's had a huge impact all in all. And it's possible that we don't even realize how much yet. Maybe
Yeah.
like we say, next year there'll be more stats released. We'll do a follow-up video. uh,
Yeah. We'll have our own graph and like, visual representation for charts and whatever after we see all the other ones.
exactly, yeah,
But yeah, anyway, if you guys have been affected by COVID in a positive way or, a way we mentioned like doing something you never thought you'd do, go ahead and comment or let us know, let somebody know.
yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, until then, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye everyone.